Hey guys, it's Laura coming to you live, well, not really live, but filming in a beautiful Marriott in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And if you don't know why I'm here, watch the video before. I talk about that I'm coming in to speak tonight, but I did not want to not make my videos. I'm going to make my videos. So here I am from Pittsburgh, and I want to talk about the importance of newsletters and sending out newsletters to your patients. In the last video, I had a client ask me about communication with patients and what we should be communicating, letters and emails. And it made me think about newsletters and that I really wanted to address that in a video for you. So I think that it's important that we regularly communicate with our patients. Our patients only come into the practice, our healthy patients only come into our practice once every 4 or 6 months, sometimes once a year, sometimes once every 2 years, depending on the patient. And in the time in between when they're not in our practice, they don't think about us. They're not thinking about, oh my gosh, my dentist is so great and I love my dentist and I should refer patients to my friends to my dentist. They're not thinking about us. So it's our job to make sure that we're getting in front of them, that we're reminding them how amazing we are. Because the one thing that I hear from patients, if you talk to any patient and they talk about their office, their dental office that they go to, the number one complaint from patients is that they used to feel like family when they came in the practice, but our practices grow and now they feel like a number. We want to make sure we're doing everything possible to not let our patients feel that way. So communicating to them in between their appointment times when they're in the office is really good to do. I'm going to have another video specifically on social media because I think that also helps keep us in front of our patients. But in this one specifically, I want to talk about newsletters. So there are 2 different kinds of newsletters. There's the printed newsletter and then there's the emailed newsletter. And I lean more towards doing an email newsletter because of the amount of cost and the amount of time, and mailing a regular newsletter, a printed newsletter, just is not realistic for most offices. That being said, I have seen some amazing things get mailed from offices, and it really just kind of depends on what your outcome is with the newsletter or whatever it is you're mailing, what your expectation is of it, and your budget. Printing and mailing newsletters can be expensive. However, I have seen some that are so amazing where it's almost like a magazine. It's like, they've got recipes in there. They've got pictures of their team doing fun stuff, giving back. They've got a motivational article written by one of the team members. They've got quotes and they've got games or something in there, something that's going to make the patient want to keep this. It's almost like a little magazine, and they want to put it out and put it on their newsletter or on their coffee table or keep it somewhere to refer back to it because they've got healthy recipes in there or something like that. In that case, that makes sense. That, however, is an expensive ordeal, and it really needs to make sense for your practice. I could see that working for larger cosmetic practices, more high-end offices, where they really want to build a value with their patient. Then you'd want to do something like that, potentially. But for most of us, an email newsletter is more realistic. Now, doing a newsletter with the software companies that are out there now, that it's super easy. And I say super easy, I have to be careful. If you've got somebody who's got some graphic experience, maybe who's built PowerPoints in the past, if you've got somebody in your team that is good at creativity and putting together something like that, it's easy. Nowadays, you could just drag and drop and write an article, throw it in there, put a picture here, and then send it. However, it can be time consuming if you've got somebody working on this that doesn't have that ability. So I would be really careful to make sure that you are having the right person on your team put the newsletters together. It shouldn't take more than an hour, I would say. I mean, you have to write stuff for the newsletter. That might take a little longer, but putting the newsletter together, if you have somebody on your team taking more than an hour to do it, then you probably need to find somebody else. So make sure that you have the right person helping you do this. But sending newsletters, I think, should be something that you send out on a regular basis. When I say regular basis, I wouldn't say weekly, maybe once a month. If you have enough content that you think it's going to be read by your patients, then once a month, maybe once a quarter, but I would definitely, the minimum I would do is once a quarter. I would do it. If you don't have enough to say once a quarter, then your practice isn't growing and doing new fun stuff. So I would say at least 4 times a year, but you can do it up to 12 times a year. And I wouldn't stress too much to say like They have to be mailed on the, emailed on the first day of every month, because patients aren't like waiting for it probably. So if you don't do it every month, you kind of just do it as you get enough content for it, that's okay too. But make sure you're doing it at least 4 times a year, in my opinion. So now, what do we put in the newsletter? My suggestion is that the newsletter not be all clinical, that it's not just all about look at how amazing our cases are, that it's fun, that the patients will want to read it, and that you are putting information, things in there that are interesting to the patients and fun, okay? But you also want to sprinkle in some new technology you have or cases that you're doing or whatever. So here's my suggestions of some things that you would put in the newsletter. One is maybe new technology. So if you just got a CEREC, or if you just got a new, 3D combing, or you're offering sleep, or you've got new technology, definitely highlight that. Your patients need to see that your practice is growing and doing new things. Secondly, if you're offering new services, like I said, sleep. If you're trained and starting to do more sleep apnea, maybe if you're doing Invisalign now, maybe you've just started offering some new service, you want to put that in there. I would also highlight a case that some procedure, some case that you've done that you would love more of. So maybe you just did a smile makeover, or maybe you started doing sleep and you've changed somebody's life with the sleep. Then highlight that, talk about that, show that, so that patients can see something that might relate to them and pick up the phone and call your office and say, hey, I have sleep apnea, I need some help with that. So highlight a procedure or something that you want more of. Then, like I said, do some fun stuff in there. So your office should be taking pictures all the time, and I'm going to talk about it in another video about social media. Highlight some of that stuff in the newsletter. Did your team just go and do a walk together? Did you donate money? Did you have a fun Halloween costume contest? Whatever it is, highlight that for your patients. They love to see that stuff. Maybe you want to put in something like employee of the month, or employee of the newsletter, and highlight one of your employees and something they've done, or introduce them, so that your patients are now getting connected and learning more about your team members. So maybe pick one person every month and do that. Have your team members potentially write articles, have your hygienist write an article on something, in their scope of expertise. Have your assistants write something. Like, it doesn't have to be only from the dentist, it can be from other team members. So get your team involved to write it. I think your patients would love to see that also. And then maybe just anything else that you've got that's fun going on. Maybe pictures of, I don't know, maybe it's dog month, all your team's dogs, or, maybe it's a certain thing, you had a cookout and you have pictures of that, whatever. Just make sure it's not all clinical, that you put in some personal things. Patients love that. But make sure you balance that with something that you want to advertise, whether it's a new procedure or new technology that you offer or whatever. And then make it fun. Just make it fun. They're not going to look at your newsletters if everything is clinical all the time and you're showing gross dental pictures. That's not what patients want to see. So make it fun. Make it something that they look forward to and that they want to read. So there's my 2 cents on newsletters. I hope if you need any help or whatever, write comments. If you have suggestions, maybe something that you've put in a newsletter that somebody really likes, your patients really like, write it in the comments. Make sure you continue to send me questions, because I love doing this. Even though I'm sitting alone in a Marriott hotel room by myself, it's still fun to feel like I'm connecting with you guys on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe, you check the notifications so you know when the next video comes out. And until next time, why don't you go work on your next newsletter, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks guys for listening. I'll talk to you later.